Some of you guys may have this humidifier, and it's pretty pricey. It's like 85 bucks or something, 80 bucks, and holds a decent amount of water and does a pretty good job of raising humidity levels. Normally it's something like 15% in here, 20%. So on the low setting, it does a pretty good job. Anyway, these things are supposed to be pretty good, but mine was making a buzzing noise. And I couldn't find anything online about why it might be doing that. I suspected it was the fan inside. And this fan, I managed to take this thing apart, but it didn't have any information on how to do it. The first issue was getting all the screws out. There are 6 screws on the underside. They're pretty easy to locate. They're not covered up. One of them is a anti-tamper torx. So you'll need to get yourself an anti-tamper T10 sized torx bit. And you'll need to make sure that it's kind of a long one. I got some 4-inch bits because my screwdriver was too thick to fit into the recessed hole that it lies in. So you get one of those and you start to pull it apart, and then you realize there's actually a 7th screw, or there's something holding it together. And I realized it was a 7th screw, and by just sort of prying it apart and looking at it, I could tell that there was a screw penetrating on the inside here, somewhere about right here, behind this faceplate. I wasn't sure at the time, but what you can do is you can get a screwdriver, a flathead, a really thin one, and just start very carefully going around the edge here and popping this off. I thought this was glued on at first. It's not. It's just got some tabs. So you just pop this guy off carefully all around, and don't be afraid. You probably won't break it. It did take a fair amount of leverage, and it came off. So there's a screw right about here. It's just a regular Phillips head. Took it out. And then everything comes apart really nicely. And then once you're inside, there's a few more screws to take off. There's the fan itself is held by a little bracket that looks like this and kind of clamps down on top of the fan. Take the 2 screws off, and there's a bunch of padding around the fan they've glued on, I guess, to minimize vibrations. A lot of videos out there tell you to lubricate the fan. I didn't really see a feasible way of doing this. I could have done it, but I don't think that was the problem. I think that there was something getting too close. Things were touching. Maybe the fan was touching a piece of its recessed housing, and while the fan operated, it caused vibrations. So what I did is I just took a piece of napkin, folded it up real tight, and just shoved it in. I actually wrapped it in electrical tape to kind of, I don't know, future-proof it, make it stronger. And I shoved that all around the fan. Took 2 pieces and put them on either side. And you'll see what I mean when you get in there, because the fan sits inside of a recessed plastic housing. I'm too lazy to take this thing apart again. But I basically made shims and shimmed either side of the fan to prevent any kind of vibrations happening. There's also a metal shield that somewhere near the middle in here that covers, it's like a protection plate that covers a circuit board, and it's a little flimsy. It's made out of some really thin gauge sheet metal, and I wrapped that really tightly in some electrical tape because it's possible that it could have been vibrating. I don't know. I just sort of shotgun approached the solution to this, because I don't know what was wrong. What would happen is I would service this thing, put new water in it, clean it out, put it back, and it wouldn't hum. And then I'd come back a few hours later and start humming again. I've left this overnight to run. It hasn't made any humming noises, so I'm assuming that these 2 things that I did fixed it. One thing I also did, because I don't need this, is you can either remove it, or what I did is I took the oil tray and I wrapped it in electrical tape. And some outside theory is that, to me, there's some gap between here and the lower base, and it could have been vibrating. I don't know. This fan isn't really high speed. I don't know why it would cause any vibrations. I really doubt that that was the issue, but I didn't want to do this again, so I just decided to do that. Anyway, everything seems to be working fine. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. I might be able to answer it further. If you really need a breakdown or something and something doesn't make sense, I guess I could make a video like that. But I just want to make this because there's no other information. There's no disassembly guides. There's no illustrated parts catalog for this humidifier, and I just kind of had to go it alone, so I figured someone might appreciate it. Anyway.